Getting prepared is all about educating yourself, figuring out if you have the right attitude, and getting all the tools ready in your toolkit, i.e. your resume, cover letter, etc., for you to bust into the entertainment industry, otherwise known as the business. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Lauren, the film student extraordinaire, and today we're doing something very film student extraordinary and starting a new series on my channel where I'm going to be going through this book, The Hollywood Game Plan, and talking about my process as I go through it, because I am graduating in May and my current plan is to move to Los Angeles when I graduate, and this is all about breaking into the industry and how you kind of get your path going. So I thought I would kind of bring it along as a journey with me as I progress over the next 6 months, 1 year. I'm not sure exactly, but that's what's up. So the first section of this book is called Get Prepared.
I was kissing you with my eyes open, but you said keep them closed and be in the moment.
The first chapter in this section is called Welcome to Hollywood. Ooh. And the first question to really ask is if this is the right business for you. Basically, do you have a compelling desire to unleash your creativity, to share your stories? Can you withstand rejection, getting told no? And are you okay being in times of uncertainty, especially regarding future work, especially if you're going for like gigs, as in being on sets all the time, versus maybe a more studio corporate position? You are going to be hustling for work, and especially I keep saying especially, sorry about that. At the beginning will be extra difficult because no one will know who you are. Now when it comes to me, for my answer to these questions, I would say I do have a very strong desire to share my story and to share stories that I believe deserve to be uplifted, voices that need to be heard, and that really compels me to... Well, hello, little miss. I guess Raina really wants her story told as well. Let me close the door. When it comes to rejection, I think I'm pretty decent with rejection. I've applied for lots of jobs that I've gotten a nice old no. That might have been backwards, but I meant no. And, you know, I understand with the creative project that not everything is for everyone. So I think I'm okay at that. The thing that does concern me a bit is the uncertain factor, because as someone with anxiety, I definitely like to know what's going on, what the future holds for me, but I am working on that in therapy and stuff. So I think because I have 2 out of 3, I feel like it is the right business for me, and fingers crossed that it works out, because it's my dream right now, and it's been my dream for many years at this point, and I just can't see it going away anytime soon. The second question, and the last question of the chapter that I gleaned most useful to share, is this the right time for you to enter the business? And the answer is not quite happily, yes. Basically, as long as you're passionate about entertaining people, it's always the right time to go into the entertainment business. Yes. I think this is so true, because there's always new mediums coming out, there's always new ways to tell stories, there's always new types of content, and that's really exciting to me, to think that, you know, what we're doing now in 10 years could be totally different. That's exciting to me. It makes me want to know what's going to be happening, and I want to be involved. So like start now, you know what I mean? Moving on to the second chapter, which is Learn the Basics, Entertainment 101, i.e. take out your notepad, sit at a desk, ready for lecture time. Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, the bottom line behind the creation of every single one of your favorite movies, TV shows, whatever, is because somebody at the top, a decision maker, decided it was going to make money. Dollars drive Hollywood. Now you could say, but Lauren, money drives everything. And to an extent, it definitely does. I think what's important and relevant about this situation, though, is because I think sometimes people think because it's a creative industry that ideas can just grow and spread, and there doesn't need to be this monetary value necessarily. But the truth is there's money in every project. And unless someone's super rich and they can just fund it themselves and no one else cares, you have to convince people that it will make money. And that's why the process of pitching and then getting greenlit, which means that the money is going the green, you're getting the good to go green light, woo, it takes forever. This is why we think of it as show business. The creativity part, the show, the business, the money. Something important to remember that I kind of already touched on is that content is content regardless of distribution. With today, you know, with social media influencers especially, you know, there's people all over TikTok. You want to say hi to the camera? I regret this. It's Rhea, my little bean. Yes, my little baby. For example, this is on YouTube, and okay, I may not have a big channel or anything, but some people do, and they make big money. People want to work with them. People care about them because it's content. TikTokers making big money. Instagram. You can make money on so many different platforms, and that's what the entertainment decision makers are looking for. Because, as I already said, dollars drive Hollywood. You may also be thinking, but how does a project like get made? Where is it born? And it can honestly be originated in any way. A good story can come from anywhere, as the book says, and I think that's completely true. It can come from your own past life experience. It can come from someone who knows life experience. For instance, one day I would love to make like some kind of project piece capturing some of the stories of my grandfather, who was a fire chief. I think that would be remarkable. That's an idea. Or it can come from just like random out of your head. It can come from a painting, a book. You have to give credit where credit is due if you get the idea from something that already exists. Now, once you have your idea, it's time for development. Unfortunately, out of the thousands of projects that get kind of created and pitched and developed, only 10% of those ideas will become greenlit. And that doesn't even mean that they're going to make it all the way through the chain. And this just goes to speak of the competitive nature of the industry, which is why when you have a project, you need to have multiple projects, because maybe someone's not interested in one of them, but they might be interested in another one of your projects. It is all about trying to have multiple ways of showing off your skill sets. To my understanding, obviously I'm not really in the industry yet, which is why I'm doing this whole breaking in series thing. In the very slim chance you just waltzed onto this video with no understanding of production stages, here we go. 1, development. This is where we kind of take an idea, flesh it out, hone it up, make it into a fully fledged script, or whatever kind of like the blueprint of your final project is going to be. We have 2. This is pre-production. So once we have it greenlit, we know, we at least know it's on the process of getting made. This is when you're trying to hire the cast and the crew, you have the whole budget, you're planning out everything that needs to happen, and it's all going to be neatly filed up. Then we have 3, the actual production process. So if it's live action, you have real people doing cast and crew stuff, cameras are really rolling, you're capturing images, sounds, exciting stuff is happening. And if it's virtual, like an animation or anything like that, then you have virtual cameras and virtual everything going on. But you still probably have some real person being a voice at some point in the process, unless you have no voices in your piece, obviously. We have 4, which is post-production. So this is when you're transforming this raw footage into something fantastic. You're, fixing up audio, doing color correction, maybe adding visual effects, titles, whatever it needs to be done to really bring the piece up a notch to its next level. And then lastly, finally, we have marketing and distribution. So marketing and distribution go hand in hand because distribution is how you actually deliver your project to audiences. Maybe it's on Netflix, maybe it's going to theaters, maybe it's going to Short of the Week, maybe it's going right to YouTube, wherever it's going. And then marketing is how we actually sell to the audience. Posters, ads, word of mouth, that kind of thing. Now that we've got that underway, we can think about the Hollywood food chain, which sounds yikesies. And it's not that complicated. There's a ton of powerful people at the top and a ton of losers at the bottom. But we're not actually losers. We are dreamers, creators, aspirational. But if we're thinking about the winners and losers, winners are the power players, these decision makers. Everyone else, obviously, you know where they fall. A power player is someone who has the authority, or I meant to say the power or authority, to approve a project for development, greenlight it. Now, that's what we mostly think of a power player, and that would be an executive at a studio, corporation, that kind of company. But there are other types of power players. There are powerful directors, producers, megawatt stars. There are big entertainment lawyers and talent agents. So there's a lot of different types of power players and decision makers. And there's different ways to get into those roles. The most common roles almost across the board is some kind of assistant job, whether you're starting out as a mailroom assistant clerk in a talent agency, or a assistant to a director, or an assistant to an executive for the executive track or directing or producers. You could be a junior associate at a law firm. There's most of the ways it's assistant, or like if it's film set, you can also be a PA, which is an assistant, but it's a production assistant. In some places, it might be easiest to get in as the receptionist, but that sometimes can lead you not exactly where you want to go, so you should always try to get at least to be an assistant role. According to the book, I'm not looking for a specific directing job right out of college, basically, because I want to try to meet more people, get my feet under me really in LA, kind of living there versus over the summer, and just try to get like a sense of really what's up, and then try to work on stuff like on the side projects. And then once I have some experience and people know who I am a bit, even just a couple people, then try to go for those assistant jobs. Chapter 3 is make yourself irresistible to decision makers. That means you got to answer one killer question for them, and that is, will this person help me or not? In order to do that, you need to do a couple things. You need to radiate positive energy, be confident, be super enthusiastic about whatever the job is, and just be like a can-do kind of attitude person. To enhance the definition, if, say, you have a job and it's not maybe the job, your dream job, you should still put in 110%. As they say in the book, you have to love the one you're with. You can't be acting like it's something's too, not good enough for you, because when you start out, nothing is too good. You're not too good for anything, basically. Additionally, you should say yes to every opportunity that comes your way, providing you're at least somewhat interested. Like if you would loathe it and make your life miserable, the book seems to imply that unless it's illegal or immoral, you should still do it. Personally, I think that if you would hate it and it would make your life terrible, you should not do it. But if it's moderately interesting to you, and it's not illegal, immoral, doesn't go against any of your personal beliefs, I agree with the book and say you should go for it, because you don't know where that could lead you. You don't know who you're going to meet, and I think it's just exciting if you get these kind of like random opportunities that kind of come out of nowhere. Additionally, though, you want to make sure you're, honoring prior commitments, especially if you've signed something on paper. You want to be respectful of other people and try to keep your reputation as strong as possible, because reputation is very important. Then we have turn your resume into an industry-ready resume. Now, this again has to answer that question, right? Like, is this person going to be helpful? Because when a recruiter's going down the list of all the hundreds or thousands or whatever many applicants they get, they're getting a ton of resumes. Yours needs to stand out. But how is that going to happen? I don't know. I have been to the Career Center at Temple so many times with my resume, and I'm pretty confident in it, and I will show it on the screen. Probably now, and this is my system. I have my skills, my education. I just recently took off the New York Film Academy, which I did a summer intensive workshop, but I figured now that I'm like graduating college, the college degree means more than my little workshop certificate. But when I was in college, getting my internships, then it looked, I think it was more impressive, and it like added more to my abilities. And then of course I had my jobs and my organizations. The book also says you could have like an objective summary area. I don't personally believe in objective statements, because it's like, obviously I want the job, that's why I'm applying. And it also said you could have like a interests, but I just have my organizations and then an awards achievement section. Now I have gotten some nice like awards. Most recently I got a scholarship award from the film program, but I haven't had that listed anywhere. I don't think that I really need that, because I have the fact that I'm in the honors program, I have my GPA, like I just don't think I need that information. But it's nice to know that there's kind of some flexibility on what you need with resumes. I also just created a production resume as well, based off a conversation with a career coach that I spoke to literally yesterday, though it would be 2 days ago when this video comes out. Some keynotes that the book wanted to include that I feel like I should include is, one, obviously, don't lie in your resume. Please don't. You sometimes hear about people lying and getting away with it for ages, but they almost always get caught. It will totally ruin your credibility, it'll ruin your reputation, and it's just not worth it. Additionally, only put your street address, like your local address, apparently, if you're already in the place you want to work. Like if you're in LA, then you can say you're in LA, but if you're in New York, but don't say you're in Ohio, because then people might be less likely to hire you. apparently. Even though like when you fill out all the application forms, they always ask you where your location is. But apparently for the resume, like if you just emailing people, then it will not look as bad. And that's when you hear these stories with people being like, I got this job and I came here right away. Like I had nothing planned. For me, going back to that uncertainty thing, I cannot do that. I cannot just be like, I'm going to move out like next week. I'm also in college, so I don't really have that luxury, nor do I want it at the moment. But that's an interesting thing to consider and think about. Like how quickly can you get to where you're applying to work? Then we have write a killer Hollywood cover letter. Now this is your chance to be a little more personal, go more into detail, and say what makes you special. I think I'm decent at cover letters. I've written tons of different styles over my years at college. They've definitely evolved as I've looked at different templates, different versions, starting with the Career Center one, evolving a bit, maybe going back. The most important thing I think is to give like a strong personal tie to the company or the job. And that way if someone's reading it, they're like, oh, this person really wants the job because it means something to them. And sometimes you gotta dig deep for that meaning, I'm not gonna lie. But I think it helps. I don't know, I mean, I'd say like, for the jobs I apply to, I feel like I get a decent number of interviews, and that's what your resume is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to get you the first step in the door. The book makes it a point to be like, make it as short basically as possible while still getting all the relevant information. If it's an email, they said like 2 paragraphs, 3 to 4 sentences each. They said if it's like an attachment, maybe 4 paragraphs, 3 to 4 sentences each. So I think that's interesting, but basically, yeah, like if you're emailing someone kind of like your cover letter resume, almost like cold calling, you want it to be quick, brief, you don't want, because they're not going to read an essay from someone they don't know. And then additionally, if someone referred you to the job, obviously mention them very soon, because that way they're like, oh, this person who I know recommended you to this job, I should read this. It might be worth it. So I think that's maybe common sense, but I thought I should still include it. Then the final section for this Get Prepared is to land the all-important entertainment internship. Now, I think I landed a good entertainment internship. I got a job last summer with Madison Square Garden Entertainment in Burbank. Now, it was more of an editorial role. It wasn't necessarily in a film studio company type thing, making like features, but it was making content, innovating. I think for me, I like successfully got that, which is why I feel like I'm kind of at this point, maybe the second point with Get Smart, which is the next section, which I will do probably in a week or two, because at this point I feel like I'm trying to catch you guys up on where I am in my journey versus like further down the line. And I think, I mean, it was incredible for me. I learned a lot about being out in LA. I met some great people, and it would be amazing to work there again. So it's just like, I think that is an important thing, but I also know a lot of people who like didn't get any internships or didn't get like a crazy like big one and still are, you know, got jobs after college, like some of my friends who graduated. So I think that internship is amazing if you get one, but I think that also if you didn't get an internship, like it doesn't mean you're not going to succeed. It's just like a different way of getting that experience. But if you can get experience different ways, like that's what makes life, I think, so magical. And I wish the book did address more that, like the success you can get without an internship, because a lot of the book, like they have like a one story where someone just kind of like got lucky, but for the most part they really push this internship thing, and not everyone can afford an internship because so many internships are still unpaid or require college credit, but depending on the college you then have to pay for the credit, and it's just like, what? So that was, I think, a problem that I had with the book for this section. However, I will include a couple points that I thought I agree with and I always make sure to do. If you do get an interview with anyone at any time, send a thank you within 24 hours. It's just this courtesy, politeness, and generally it shows that you like care enough to follow up. Additionally, when you are in the applying thing, it's a numbers game, and I can speak to this. For my sophomore year, when I got a internship with Samsung, I applied to 71 places. Samsung, I think, was the 44th or 42nd like place I technically applied to, like in order. That's a ton of places. And then for last summer, I think I applied to like 40 places, and I think Madison Square Garden was maybe like 20s. So it's a numbers game. It's also about having the right attitude and being enthusiastic in the interview process. So like if you don't want a job, it's gonna be obvious. Like if you show up and you're like, hey, and they go, how are you today? And you go, I'm fine, whatever. Like you're obviously not interested, and that makes them think you don't really care about the job. And I would say that is true, and I definitely always try to be as upbeat and bubbly as possible if I have an early morning interview, which I did on Friday. you gotta hype up, you know, wake up maybe earlier than you want, because you gotta wake your brain up, you gotta wake your vibe up, you gotta be ready to roll. That wraps up all the content I want to talk about for this first get prepared section. I'll definitely make at least one more of these, and then I would love to see or hear some feedback from you guys on if you think this is interesting, you know, hearing my thoughts about this book that was actually assigned to me for class a semester ago, so I didn't just like pull it out of nowhere. And also give you guys a little more of an update on where I'm at in my current, you know, life plan as I'm graduating in May. If you liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up. Remember to comment down below whatever you want, if you learned something interesting, if you think there's something that I should have mentioned. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, because we are so close to 1,000 subscribers and it would be awesome to hit that before my birthday.